some men smoke pipe or cigar. Men like John Levy chew on his cigar all day long. Drive his wife crazy. Me, I just like these lemon drops. And that's why I get some every time I'm in La Crosse. My wife Sarah, she hated them. So did my children. They too sour, they would complain. That's why I always get 2 bags of candy. Peppermint came for them, and all the lemon drops were mine. All mine. My name is Nathan Smith. I was born in a Tennessee plantation in 1820. My wife Sarah was born in 1830. We fled the plantation we lived on during the height of the Civil War and arrived in La Crosse, Wisconsin in 1864. Now, how we ended up here is an interesting story. You see, during our travels along the Underground Railroad, we crossed paths with Union soldiers led by General Calder Washburn. Little did any of us know then that he would one day become governor of Wisconsin. Anyways, he and I became friends. He ended up making La Crosse his home, and I ended up working for Washburn as his valet. So Washburn invited Sarah and me to come to La Crosse with him. He even helped us find land for our farm. We ended up owning roughly 40 acres of land. And we were settled here in La Crosse, Wisconsin in 1864. Sarah and I must have had 30 children over the years. To tell you the truth, I lost count. Now your next question might be, how does a man do that? Well, you see, we're foster parents. So the little ones were with us for a little while. Physical abuse, too much drinking, and police officers on the beat will end up making a report. So the little ones end up staying with us for a while, then we sadly have to say goodbye to them. Sarah and I loved them no matter how long or how short of a time they were with us. Each of these children reminded us of our daughters, Sally and Eliza, back in Tennessee. We were like parents who lost their children. We didn't mean to lose our girls. We had always intended to get them back. We left them with friends when we ran away. We thought if we survived the escape, and we could buy their freedom later. So we ended up spending our life caring for other children. We never did mind seeing Police Justice Hoover coming up a hill with another child for us to care for. He even helped raise the children of George and Carrie French. You see, George and Carrie were a deaf couple that lived nearby. And we helped 3 out of their 4 children learn how to speak. Sarah and I, with our children, live on a 40-acre farm between West Salem and La Crosse. You might have seen it going through West Salem, unless you go through Coon Valley and Bangor. That's a long way to West Salem. See, many of the people going to West Salem road and think it's shorter and steeper, but would end up resting their horse and rest for a while. And many of the older folks living with us enjoy the company. We all say, bring some gossip from La Crosse when you come. You see, we didn't only take care of orphanage, we also took care of older people whose family had no time or patience for them. We got along well with our neighbors too. Our home was used many times for prayer gatherings. Many of the young men brought to us were assigned by the courts. They would help us with all the work that needed to be done around the farm. Most of these young men never made a run for it. because food was pretty important. They never were late for a meal, and everyone always cleaned their plates. He called himself George Southall. He is the last name of the first family that fostered him when he arrived in La Crosse. I think it was 1865 when he was 8 years old. You see, George was an orphan at age 5 in Alton, Illinois. And one day, while stealing food from a ship called a Hawkeye State, the ship took off with him in it. And next thing you know, George was en route to La Crosse. He was befriended by the ship cook, Henry Southall, and later his wife, Agnes Southall. Those people made a living for George, but George was still an alley cat, and he loved being in the street and sleeping next to the river a lot more than he liked being in his own room. See, George never forgot the poverty of hunger growing up. This was true even when I sent him off to college at Wayland University in Beaver Dam. Sarah and I sent 4 of our young men to college. George was one of them. We loved all of our children, but I was especially proud of George. You see, he eventually owned his own newspaper in La Crosse, called the Wisconsin Labor Advocate. He was a civil rights leader and ran for President of the United States in 1904. He was my son. Sarah and I lived most of our life on our 40-acre farm. She died in 1892 at the age of 62.
Nathan remarried in 1895 to Elizabeth Johnson. He sold the farm and they moved to French Island. Nathan passed away in 1905 at the age of 85. He is buried between Sarah and Elizabeth in Hamilton Cemetery in West Salem.